Listen, everybody's been looking forward to this main event out of the fight night. I mean, obviously, the pay-per-view is huge, but when you look at this fight between Ortega and Zombie, where do you think it gets won? Like, what's the most key area that somebody has to dictate to win this fight?
Honestly, when I look at the matchup between the two, right, Zombie has like a complete skill set, and so does Brian Ortega. But where Brian Ortega struggled with Max Holloway was when he was forced to stand for an extended period of time. And I think that's the same type of situation he's going to find himself in with the Zombie. He's got to get this fight to the ground. And if not for keeping him there extended periods of time, he has to be able to mix it up to make the Korean Zombie not feel so comfortable on the feet, because that dude's a handful too. So ultimately, it's I know Brian Ortega knocked out Frankie Edgar, and sometimes you fall in love with the hands, but for him, he needs to get this fight to the floor. Because if the Zombie can stay standing, he's very difficult.
Yeah, we just found out the last couple of days, obviously, that Henner can't make it. I mean, from a fighter's point of view, like, how much difference can that make? I mean, I kind of like what Henner said, where he's like, "Dude, jiu-jitsu, you got."
That was the most. I was on the plane with Brian Ortega over, and we were talking, and he was talking about his training camp and how well it went, and how Henner had his positive tests weeks ago, right? But he's been kind of alternating positive and negative. And when you get to Vegas, if you're positive, you can't travel. It is what it is. But if there was one coach, and this is a mindset of Brian Ortega, right? If there's one coach that he had to go without, why? If it's the jiu-jitsu guy, he feels pretty confident. Because as we know, Brian Ortega is as talented a grappler as we have in the entire UFC. So, tough for a team, but it's like me not having a wrestling coach going into a fight. Right. So it's best of the worst case scenario.
Does it change though? Like, because I get the feeling they're kind of like a mentor relationship too, right? I mean, does that change anything?
Well, I mean, I just think that at this point, right, when you fought for a world championship, you know how to go fight, right? And what's normal? What's normal today, right? So to think that Brian Ortega is going into this fight and things don't feel normal, well, he's fighting in Abu Dhabi on Fight Island. There's a place called Fight Island that Brian Ortega is fighting the Korean Zombie, right? So what's normal in 2020? So this is kind of par for the course for all the fighters that are fighting on these cards. If something gets dealt your way, whatever. It's the way the world works today.
No doubt. Outside the main event, man, any names, matchups, anything that stand out to you as you're studying, like good stories or styles you want to watch?
We just did fighter meetings for the last 5 hours, and I have to go and decipher through these notes because I take a ton of them, right? Because I don't want to seem like an idiot on the broadcast, but there's some high-level talent on this fight card. I'm excited about the heavyweight matchup on the main card. I'm excited about the light heavyweight matchup. I feel like, and I'm going to butcher these names if I can even remember them. What's the kid's name at the light heavyweight matchup? The kid that knocked the guy out with the elbows last fight. Very different name. He's from England. He fights out of England. Huh? No.
No, he was in the other card.
Is it Dricus or
no? No, M. His name starts with an M, and he's fighting the big kid, the big strong kid that lost to Modestus versus Jimmy Crute,
yeah.
Right? That's the one. And can you believe that? I can't remember all the names. Like, come on, man. It's like Modestus and Jimmy Crute, right? I think this is going to be a good fight because, for me, it's about the stories. Like, I love the stories going into fights. I love the storylines, right? And if we go back a year and a half, Jimmy Crute was this guy. The same exact situation. Jimmy Crute going into the fight with Serkinov, right, as the guy, undefeated. He was the new prospect in the division. He ended up getting beat, got back on the win in his last fight. Now you look at Modestus, he comes into the UFC, has an impressive performance, win $50,000 with that nice finish. And now he's the guy. And Jimmy Crute finds himself in that situation that Misha was. Now, does he take advantage of it as Misha did before? So I'm excited about that fight. There's just some good fights all up and down the card, you know, and as I continue to prep, because I don't even know what today is. Is it Tuesday, Wednesday? Like, I mean, I don't even know what day it is, but I know that come Friday, we'll know who these guys are, because as you learn about them over the course of the week, you know how talented they are.
You you talk about stories in the light heavyweight division, the new champion, Jan Blachowicz. What do you make of him? Does he deserve?
Man, this is so
respect
crazy.
Is there
Like,
an asterisk next to him?
it's so crazy, man, because like if I say something, then he's gonna attack me. Like it's like I'm like an easy target here lately. All of a sudden, like I decided to retire, and everybody takes shots at me. You know, I said something. I praise Jan Blachowicz for his title-winning victory. I thought he looked fantastic. But I also speak the truth, right? And I sometimes see things and I speak on those things and he didn't quite like them. So then he tells me to go fight him. I'm 41 years old, man. I just got out of the game. You try to pull me back in? I think he's a good fighter. I think he's very talented. And honestly, what he's done is inspiring. It should inspire a whole different crop of fighters and let them know that the top is not out of reach. We've seen Jan Blachowicz lose. We've seen him lose at light heavyweight. We've seen him lose at middleweight. And he continued to believe in himself and his team. And now he's the UFC light heavyweight champion. And I don't think there's no asterisk. Or asterisk. What, asterisk? Is it asterisk?
God, I can't say
asterisk?
I can't ever say it.
I don't think there's...
With a K.
Asterisk. It's asterisk, right? You said asterisk. That's what messed me up. Like, there is no asterisk. Like, I think that Jon Jones left the division, right? And this guy won the title. And he deserves all the respect in the world. And I'm interested to see what happens. And I'm excited to see what happens with this division because for a decade, Jones and I were the only two people that ever touched that belt. Let's see if this thing starts switching hands like a hot potato or if somebody can hold on to it.
That's the last thing for me. I mean, we have to ask about Jones. This Jones Adesanya stuff. It's on different levels than even you guys were, right? I mean, what are you making out of this whole thing?
Well, because Adesanya is one of those new internet kids, right? These internet kids don't even need to verify if something's true. They use it. There's a rumor, they use it, which is actually quite astounding because there was a rumor that Jones hid under that cage for years. Adesanya somehow got him to admit to doing it. He actually got him to admit to doing it. So, I mean, there's obviously a method to his madness. And I thought when that started and he kept going after Jones, I was like, man, I can only imagine how many plates or like coffee mugs Jones broke in his house that night because he's so mad. But then when he got him to admit that, it was nuts. But Jones has had some good comebacks too. You know, it's been good. And if you're Israel Adesanya, you just don't fight him. Because you know how mad he is, right? Could you imagine making this man as mad as he is making him and just not fighting him? Because it doesn't seem like Izzy's ready to fight him right now, but I think this is the matchup. I think it'll be a fantastic fight, too.
Well, that's what's interesting, right? It's like it doesn't even seem like they're ready to fight, so why are
well,
they
Jones wants to fight him. Like, Jones wants to fight him. Like, everybody talks about Jones, but Jones is a fighter, man. He'll fight you. He'll fight anybody. And he wants to fight Adesanya. But Izzy won't even fight him, like, which is the most... It's like just like picking on somebody constantly, but at a distance. Like, I'm away from you. And I'm not saying Adesanya's scared, but Adesanya says, I need my time. You said you were going to heavyweight 10 years ago. You're finally doing it now. You know, why can't I have time? It's very fascinating the way that these two interact with you. It's nasty, but these rivalries tend to get nasty. I mean, Jones and it was not nice, and they tend to get nasty, but that makes it fun for fans.
You think they will fight at some point?
I hope they fight at some point. I think it's a very interesting matchup, and I think that Adesanya is just improving every time out. So if I'm Jones, I'm fighting him sooner than later if I can get him in there. Because remember, this guy's only been here for a couple years, and now he looks like he's going to hold the belt forever. I mean, what he did to Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa's still delusional. I mean, I like Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa's like, sign the contract. What contract? There's no contract, Paulo. It's not coming. Like, after what happened a couple weeks ago, there's no contract coming. Like, just go fight somebody and just take it. Like, but then I'm like, Izzy, leave him alone, man. You keep picking on Paulo Costa. He's dead. Paulo Costa's dead. Leave the dude alone. You're putting pictures on the internet of the guy. Kick him when he's down. It's a different world these guys are operating in today, man. Usually, you win and you kind of move on. But, man, for days, I started feeling bad for Paulo Costa. And then when he started responding, it actually got worse. Like, come on, man. Just take your licks. Just take your licks and just don't even say anything.
If Jon Jones had admitted to you he'd hidden under a cage to avoid the drugs test, would you have asked the commission to investigate that? Because he technically just admitted to avoiding a drugs test. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, but, if you find out that he was doing something wrong, you're not surprised, right? So it's like, what are you going to do? Go down this same path? So I don't think you. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Would the move for a Jones Adesanya fight be to have Israel fight Jan for the world title first, and then make that a 205-pound world title?
See, now I never thought about that. That's interesting. Having Izzy go up. See, because here's the dilemma with the fight. What weight are they going to fight at? Right? Because now that Jones is putting on weight, does Jones want to come all the way back down to 205? That's championship weight. That's not easy for him. It was never easy for any of us. Making 205, is awful. It was awful. And it's awful. It's hard for Jones, too. He's a big guy. So for Adesanya to come up and just think that dude's going to deplete himself all the way back down to the championship weight, that's probably not what he would want to do. But if Adesanya can get past Blachowicz and now he's holding that title, now it might be a little bit more intriguing to Jones to go back down there. I mean, I don't know the weight. I really don't care, though. Like, I think Adesanya's a big guy. They can fight 215, give Jones a few pounds. I remember when I fought Anderson, and it was like on short notice, and I'm on my way down to 205, and they told me he was coming, and he weighed like 211. I was like, please make the fight at 210. Like, don't make me cut this last 5 pounds, right? Like, and I know that's what Jones would feel as he comes down to 205 if that's where the fight takes place. So those last 5 pounds are the worst. So imagine if you don't have to cut those off. It'd be crazy.
Knowing Jones, though, right, it would almost be the most annoying thing Israel could do is go and get the 205-pound title and say, oh, see, now it's my belt, and you gave it up, now I have it. Could you not think that would just entice Jones enough? Or do you really think the weight is the biggest?
I mean, I think that at this point, when you've done what Jones has done over the course of his career, now you start to look for new challenges, right? I mean, it's easier to speak about these things because I was in the same situation, right? When I'm beating Volkan and all those guys, and I'm like, I'll go fight Stipe, right? It's something new, and I think at this point, Jones has finally wrapped his head around going up, right? Because for a long time he teased it, but it was never truly like a real thing. And now that he's wrapped his mind around it, I don't know if he's going to want to like kind of divert that back to going to 205. It's a massive change for a guy that it took a long time to make up his mind, and now he has. So I don't know. I don't know if he's willing to go back down there.
Was there something for Izzy wanting to clean out middleweight first? He does want to be the greatest middleweight.
Yeah. That
Jared Cannonier out already.
Yeah, and he doesn't seem to. I mean, he's a big guy, but he doesn't seem to struggle to make the weight, right? He steps on the scale. He always looks pretty good. He doesn't look like he's dying when he steps out there. I mean, you've seen guys step on the scale. Max Holloway at 145. Like, you see guys looking like they're about to just fall over. Izzy doesn't look like that when he's making 185. So you can tell that he's a true middleweight. And there's honor in cleaning out the division before you start looking to new things, right? Because what about the guy that's next? What about the Jared Cannonier, who has done so many spectacular things to earn a title fight? All of a sudden, the champion's gone. Like that's not really good for the sustainability of a weight class. So, Izzy wanting to stay there and fight is great for the division, but fans, which is what we are, we love the sport. We're fans of the sport. Fans want to see the next big thing. And the next big thing is Izzy versus Jones. And Jared Cannonier is a dangerous guy if he can get past Robert Whittaker, because I believe that it comes down to matchups, right? Robert Whittaker wins. Do you make Whittaker versus Adesanya 2 already? Or do you kind of start going, now it's time for the Jones fight? Cannonier is something fresh and something new. People can get excited about it.
And then looking at Jan's win against Dom's obviously coming off that 5-round fight against Jones. You think he got maybe a little overconfident? He just went 5 rounds with him.
Man, everybody's ready to coronate that man. That's why you go in there. You can't. When you're going there for a coronation, you're about to become the king. Plans don't always work. Honestly, plans don't always work. You think it's happened on so many occasions. And I've said this time and time again. I go, Dom was supposed to go there and get his belt. Because I was one of the people thinking that too. Like, it's Dominic Reyes' fight to win. He went 5 rounds with the man. And now he's fighting a guy that, we've seen lose. But you don't know that Jan Blachowicz is a new person today opposed to who he was back then. So, I don't know if he got overconfident. I think that Jan Blachowicz just hit him. And he must hit really, really hard. Because when he's hitting these dudes, they just fall down. He about killed Luke Rocco with my boy. I love my boy, my dear boy Luke. He almost killed Luke. When he hit Dominic Reyes, he beat somebody up before Dominic Reyes too. Oh, it was Corey Anderson. He almost killed Corey Anderson. And then when he hit Dominic Reyes and his eye just like exploded, or his nose, I was like, oh my goodness, he's in trouble. He got beat the whole time. And Jan, and I've said this, and this is probably, he gets mad, I go, he's kind of slow. Right, Jan is a bit slow. His hands move, his movements are slow. But maybe he's faster in there, right? And you think that he's moving slow on TV, but he was hitting Dominic, and he was moving forward the whole time. And once he hit him, boy, put him out. That Jan Blachowicz is something else, man. Do something else. Big, strong dude, too. Like, just big and strong. Just, you know, if you get hit by him, you're going to have bruises everywhere he hits you. It's nasty.
Do you see anyone beating him moving forward? Or do you think he holds on to that belt?
I mean, man, you guys are really going to make Jan Blachowicz get mad at me. Keep asking me questions about. I don't know. I think Glover Teixeira is a problem for him. I mean, the dude that Glover's fighting, Thiago Santos beat him, right? Like, Thiago Santos beat him. So, like, how can you be confident in anything, right? When you went into those title fights, right? You watch an Adesanya fight, you feel pretty confident that he's probably going to hold on to that belt. You go into a Jones fight, right? You see me in Rumble fight, or you see me in Vulcan, you're like, dude's probably going to keep his belt. But you don't know anymore. You know, these matchups are so... Khabib Nurmagomedov, it's very difficult to pick somebody to beat Khabib Nurmagomedov. That Piotr Jan. Like, is somebody really going to be Piotr Jan? I mean, Davison Figueiredo. Like, these dudes are like guys that you... When they go into those title fights, you're like, it's going to be very tough. Amanda Nunes. I mean, is somebody going to get the belt off him? No. But I think he's the guy that, with the way the division is and the way he matches up with him, because he doesn't wrestle... And when he gets taken down, at times he struggled before. But I'm not even judging him on those struggles from the past, because obviously he's a new person. You take Jan Blachowicz down today, he might just get right back up. You know, so it's like you don't know. But because of those matchups, I don't know if I feel as confident in that title reign as I do in the guys like Adesanya, Usman, Nurmagomedov, Jan. Volkanovski's another guy that's going to have a tough time. Volkanovski can hold the belt for a long time. But he's got so many sharks in the water that it'll be difficult.
You were talking about Paulo Costa and Adesanya. I don't know if you got to if anybody asked you about the celebration.
Oh man!
I just want to hear your thoughts.
That was crazy, man. That was crazy. I mean, that was just crazy. Like, I mean, it was crazy. I've never seen anybody do anything like that. But Israel Adesanya is the same guy that in his UFC debut. You guys remember this on Fox? Izzy walks up to the pole and acts like he pulls himself out and pisses on the side of the octagon. He's like, this is my home now. This is my territory, right? Marking his spot. So it's like, I mean, you can't be surprised by anything Adesanya does anymore. That was crazy, man. That was crazy. But here's the thing, though. People make, like, comments about him, and they make these references about his personal life, and don't think that I'm implying anything, because I don't want this dude's mad at me, but it's like, then he plays into it, right? A lot of times when people say stuff about you, if you play into it, it makes them shut up. And I think Izzy did that to Paulo, but I mean, that's as disrespectful as it gets. Like, that's why I said, hey, leave him alone, man. Dude's dead. Like, dude's dead. Leave him alone. I mean, you can't do anything more to him. Like, leave him alone, bro. Like, come on, man. Leave this guy alone, man. And I like Paulo Costa, too. I felt bad for him. I felt really bad for him because he didn't deserve to get it like that. That was awful.
And also about Adesanya, he loves Anderson Silva. He talks about Anderson Silva a lot. And I've asked Diana that, but do you think he can be the next Anderson Silva of the division?
I think so. I mean, and also, you know, when I thought about the fight, when I watched him beat on Paulo Costa and I watched him beat on Robert Whittaker, a year and a half ago, Anderson Silva fought him to a 29-28 decision. At 43 years old. Like, so how special is Anderson Silva that he can go with this dude? And as you said, he loves Anderson. So maybe it was respect, right? Maybe he respected Anderson so much that he couldn't truly just let himself go. But I think he's gonna hold that belt for a long time, man. Because I love Jared Cannonier. I think he's the man. But when I look at the style matchup, I'm like, what's he gonna do to Adesanya? Is he gonna be able to grab him, take him down? Is he gonna be able to knock him out? Like, what's he gonna do? I don't see. I'm thinking about the 85-pound weight division and Rob, and who's a fantastic guy and great champion. Yoel Romero, he's beating him, you know, and Jared's going to be the next guy he might fight if he beats Rob. When you look at the contenders, it seems kind of tough to find a guy that can beat this dude. Also because he's only just starting. It's not like Adesanya's been there for 5 years, right? He's been fighting in the UFC for 2 years. That's insane.
And last one for me, about your social media. Of course, you're a very positive guy, and you like to interact with people. But your last tweet, you're kind of like getting into like a little argument with some people. They were, talking.
Yeah.
Because of Khabib and how you.
They're so stupid. Like, they're so stupid, right? Like, I thought you're Khabib's friend. Hey, because I'm Khabib's friend doesn't mean that I can't say that Conor McGregor's a good fighter. Or does it take a freaking genius, right? Do I have to be wearing... Does it take a genius to realize that if Conor McGregor wins 2 fights in a row, he's probably going to get a title fight? Like, come on, this is not rocket science. He beat Cowboy, and if he fights again and Khabib beats Justin Gaethje, they sold 2.5 million pay-per-views last time. They made a boatload of money. Why wouldn't I want that for my friend to fight a guy that he's beaten before, but also to see one... I was in the arena. I helped stop the fight. But because so many celebrities and people wanted tickets, I paid $10,000 for me and my family to watch Khabib fight. So if I'm paying 10 grand to go to Khabib's fight, then he is my friend. Because I'm not paying $10,000 for anything. Right? But I knew that was his moment, man. That was the biggest moment that he was going to experience. And I wanted to be there to support him as a teammate and as a friend. And then I went in there and stopped the fight, and Dana gave me all my money back. So it worked out, right? So I got to go to the fight for free. Because I was helping stop the fight, I actually got to go for free. But it's like, he's one of my best friends. He's a great guy. He's loving. He's so loyal. He's so loving. But if he gets to fight a guy that he beat before and make another $20 million, I'm all for it. So these idiots on the internet are so stupid. It's like, I don't understand if they're just trolling you or if they believe some of the points that they make. It just does not make any sense. And I sit on my show on Mondays now and I talk about all these topics. And it's going to make some people happy. It's going to make some people mad. But reality is, it's like First Take. People get mad at Max and Stephen A. every day. And the more that they get mad at me and Ariel, the better it is. Because that means that we're starting to hit our points are starting to hit home and people are paying attention. And that's great. ESPN loves it.
And sorry, as one of his best friends and teammates, do you think he would listen to you and fight McGregor again?
I don't think he'll fight McGregor again. But I still know that if I'm working for the UFC, I'm trying to put that fight together. I tell you that much. If Conor can win again, I'm trying to put the fight together. And Khabib's just so rich now. It's like he don't need money. Khabib is so rich now, it's crazy. He's like, you can give me. He said they can give him the whole UFC and he ain't gonna do an Ultimate Fighter. $5 billion. And you know what's crazy? He means it. He's not selling. He's as genuine a person as you'll ever meet in the world. And if he says something, he usually means it. He's not number one bullshit guy. He tells you the truth. And I believe Khabib. But I would like him to fight Conor for sure.
You still have to avert your eyes when you look at him?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm Daniel Cormier. I know we do that to each other all the time. Remember, I was like, put your eyes down to me, Khabib. He goes, I'm champion too, brother. And I was like, no, I've got 2. That's when I had 2 belts. And he's like, okay. But no, he's a sweetheart, man. Like, to get to know Khabib is to be better. Like, the more you get to know him, you're a better person for it because he is an absolute sweetheart. And to see, I sent him a video. There was a video floating around the other day of him fighting, was it Gleison Tibau when he was throwing all those weird punches? The one that he almost lost. What was the one he almost lost? And he was like kind of jump punching and like I said, hey, Khabib, the next time someone tells you that you didn't get better by coming to AKA, look back at this in 2012 when you were just diving at people's legs and everything. He was like, okay, brother, I get it. He's a sweetheart, man. And I'm so excited to see him when they come into the bubble.
Let's talk about Khabib's next fight. How do you see the whole fight playing out?
Yep.
Like, what are the strong sides for Justin? What are the strong sides for Khabib?
Toughest fight, I think it's the toughest fight in the division for him. I think Justin Gaethje is an absolute stud. He is, they call him the human highlight and the most exciting guy in the game, and it is true. But not just the game, in all of combat sports. There is no fighter in the world of sports that is more exciting than Justin Gaethje. Boxing, kickboxing, mixed martial arts, you'll find nobody more exciting and better. And the Justin Gaethje that fought Tony Ferguson in April or May is more dangerous to Khabib than anyone that he has ever stood across the octagon. Khabib Nurmagomedov trained for championship fights and fights since 2012. The only person that was more thorough in their preparation was Cain Velasquez when he became the champion back in 2010. No one worked harder. No one was more committed. And I just don't know if anyone's going to beat him. I'm confident in believing that Khabib will retire undefeated. Nobody will beat this guy. He is too committed to who he's supposed to be to get beat by anyone. So Justin will fight a good fight, and I'm calling the fight, right? So I'm going to be as unbiased as I can possibly be in this fight, and I'm going to do my job to the best of my ability. But I just don't know if anybody can beat this guy right now. There's no 55-pounder should feel that strong when he grabs you.
And Khabib said exactly what he's going to do in this fight, just like he did
With everybody. He tells you, but it's like you got to be able to stop it. He's become so good at what he does that you have to be able to stop it. No, that's why Justin's the most dangerous, because Justin has the skill set to stop it. Let's see what happens.
Another fight, what are your thoughts on this guy?
Let me tell you something. I'm high on this dude. That dude right there is something else. I couldn't believe what he did to Mearshart. Mearshart was terrified. Mearshart said all the right things during the week. I'm not afraid of this dude. And then the fight started. He looked like a deer in the headlights. He's backing up. Chimaev walks him down and just punches him upside the head. Mearshart falls down. Fight's over. What, 8 seconds? Wasn't it like 8 seconds? I mean, this was the craziest fight. And this dude now, everybody would say stuff like Khamzat Chimaev is better at striking than he is grappling. Like, no way. I've seen this guy outland people 175 strikes to 5 in 2 fights where he just took him down. And then against Gerald, this dude's a welterweight. And he's putting people to sleep like that. So, good luck with Khamzat Chimaev in 185 or 170. I talked about Usman and those guys having the ability to run the table for a while. If that kid keeps... Huh?
You didn't know how to say Nurmagomedov at some point, probably.
No, I knew how to say that. I got beat by enough Russians in wrestling to know how to say Nurmagomedov.
Darren Till said that he'd give Khamzat a shot at the big boys if he gets through Jap. How do you see that matchup going?
Darren Till's a bad boy. That if he goes and fights Darren Till, we're gonna know exactly where he stands, because Darren Till's a bad boy, and also one of the funniest guys on the internet that I've ever seen. Like, somebody take Darren Till's phone, man, because he's very disrespectful. Him and Adesanya need to be on timeout with their phones because they're out of control.
I think that's it.
All right.
Thanks, Dana.
Hey guys, thank you. That was fun.